Hi everyone. On behalf of Footloose, also known as Company F, I welcome you today to our company's presentation. My name is Katie Hendren, and I would like to introduce you to my teammates Taylor Rhodes, Jeffrey Jackson, and Cole Troyer. We hope you all enjoy our presentation and learn something from the decisions and results that our team had.
Hello, I'm Jeffrey Jackson, and today we are going to be talking about Footloose's financial performance data. First, here we have net revenue, earnings per share, and stock price. I have put these three together on the front page because their graphs are similar to one another and tell a similar story. As you can see, our growth was substantial and consistently went up until year 16, where it took a dive but then recovered by year 17. This has to do with the great equipment depreciation of year 15. All of our plant equipment depreciated, and it took us a year to fully recover from that. One interesting note to pull away from the net revenues graph is that after the great equipment depreciation of year 15, our revenue growth was steady, though not as quick to rise as before. This is because we adopted an equipment replacement cycle to help ensure that our equipment didn't all depreciate at the same time. This does cost us more each year, but prevents major income failure like we had in year 16 as a result of year 15's depreciation disaster. Revenue is connected to stock price pretty closely, as revenues often result in dividends, which then go hand in hand with shares of stock. EPS and stock price have almost exactly the same graph, which we found to be very surprising. We are curious to see if other companies had a similar story with the EPS and stock price graphs of their own companies. Welcome to part 2 of the financial performance data for Footloose Company. On this page, you will see the remaining 3 categories. These graphs do not share similar curves to the previous page. First, let's talk credit rating. Credit rating was not something that we had prioritized early on. As you can see, there is some wild variation between the years, up and down, and it only evened out near the end of our time running Footloose Company. We had been discussing ways to try and raise our credit score without harming our other areas of growth. But a solid strategy never did emerge by the end of year 19, though we did manage to at least keep it consistent. Our ROE was our crowning achievement. ROE, or return on equity, is important for a company, as ROE can be an indicator for companies that have a higher chance to generate their own internal revenue and require no further loans. After doing a little bit of research, I've come to the conclusion that a ROE of 15 to 20% indicates a good ROE. Our ROE for year 19 was 129.4%. So I'm going to make the assumption that our ROE is considered great. We did reach a company best ROE of 141.4% twice. Our image rating was something we definitely did try to reach the highest with, but we did not. This is unfortunate, but our image rating did consistently stay over 95% from year 15 onward.
Hey guys, this is Taylor Rhodes here with the Footloose Company, and we're going to talk about the strategic vision today. Ours was very simple. The first sentence of our strategic vision is, our long-term direction is simple. We don't want to make it a big, complicated ordeal just for one strategic vision. Okay, this needs to be simple. That way the whole company can get on board with it. So our main topic of the strategic vision was to maximize our marketing. How did we do that? We used celebrity endorsements and corporate citizenship. Our celebrity endorsements really helped us during the ending of the game, because we had 5 or 6 major celebrities that had stuck with us the entire time. So they were able to get our brand out where we couldn't. Also, corporate citizenship. This is where we donate 1% of our pre-tax income to charities, or we recycle. We host recycling days. This is all to get our name out in the community. By doing that, people go, okay, Footloose Company is trying to make the world a better place. They're trying to help out the environment. So I would rather support them than somebody else who is doesn't care about the environment, doesn't care about the poor. So that's one thing that the corporate citizenship helped us in, is by getting our name out to the community around us in all of our facilities. Just broadening our name in the community. Hey guys, we're going to talk about target margins now. So this is what, if the game would have gone on for a couple more years, what we would have projected coming out at the end here. So we've got year 20. We're looking at the earnings per share of 22. And as you can tell at the very bottom here, we've got a graph that is showing our year of 19, year end of 19, right about 20. Okay, so at 20, we feel that next year we could jump it up to 22. So then as we move on to year 21, we feel that we could probably get it all the way up to 24 and a half. That is a stretch, but but I think our company could do it. It. Like I said, it would be a stretch. It would be a big goal to get to, but hey, goals are what get you there. So next we can look at the ROE, return on equity. We've got 131 for year 20, which is not really a stretch. I think we could easily get that, but then we hit year 21 and we're looking at 133 on the return of equity side. Next, we come up to our stock price. So the stock price actually, after looking at the graph, has been very level. So there's not a whole lot of ups and downs, especially at the end here. It's really calmed down. But I believe that we could get it up a little bit to 526 and a quarter. Now, after looking at the graph, I did drop that down about a dollar there. So it was probably 527, 528. But I dropped it down because bumping up the return on equity and the earnings per share, I didn't feel like our stock price may get that high. So I left it at 526 and a quarter. And then I think for year 21, we could probably push that up to 530 and really try to get that at the end of year 21 and get that to a nice even number. Now let's talk about the credit rating. Our credit rating started off kind of rough. We took out a lot of loans to begin with, so that kind of hurt us, and that's just going to happen. You take out a lot of loans, credit doesn't look so great. But we fought back, and now I believe we're at a B+. So I think our company could easily get our credit rating to A. And in credit rating, a lot of it is just time. If you make your payments on time, you don't take out $1 million in loans. So a lot of it is time, and that's one thing. I mean, a year at a time. So I believe in year 20 we could get our credit rating to an A. I also think that in year 21 we could probably push that credit rating to an A-. I'm not real concerned about getting that to an A+. There's not a really huge difference to me between A and an A+. So as long as we can keep it at an A and keep that on a flat, I think that's good for us. I do want to direct your attention to the bottom right of the slide here. We've got a return on equity graph. There's really it really flattens out at the end. So we were pretty low at the beginning, and then we jump really high up to almost 150%, and then we kind of come back down. We came back down to about 100%, and then we were up about 125, and now we've kind of slowly leveled off, to a happy medium of where we need to be, of around 125, 127, 130, somewhere around there. Just a good solid return for our investors here.
Our biggest and closest competitor for the last few years in the internet segment for North America, Europe, Africa, Asia Pacific, and Latin America were all Team B. Fortunately, they were not as much as a competitor in North America, but for the other regions, Team B was a very big competitor. Though we had similar numbers as Team B throughout the decision rounds for each region of the internet segment, our team's market share still remained higher. To outcompete Team B in the next 2 years in the internet segment, I think that we need to continue to do what we have been doing. Though our retail prices for each region were close in number, we always spent more money on search engine advertising and brand advertising. I think that this goes to show for our team that the more money you spend to get your name out there, the better you do when it comes to market share, and that we should continue with this strategy. The results of the wholesale segment seem to be similar to those of the internet segment. Our closest competitor for North America was Team B, although they did have a higher market share than we did. As for Europe, Africa, Asia Pacific, and Latin America, Team B was in quite close competition with us, but our market share ended up being higher for each region. To outcompete Team B in the next 2 years in the wholesale segment, I also think we would need to continue with what we have been doing. We still spent more money on brand advertising for the wholesale segment. Also, our celebrity appeal was high in comparison, so I think that our many celebrity endorsements were something that really helped us. Celebrity endorsements were one part of our strategy that was important to us, and it paid off in the past for our team. I think that continuing to utilize our celebrity endorsements and brand advertising would help us to continue to outcompete Team B. We chose not to partake in the private label segment. Our brand recognition may not have been high profile enough to be successful in this market, but I do think that this decision ended up working out for the best for our team. Since we have been so successful without private label operations, I don't think that we need to dive into this market to continue to do well against our general competitors.
Hello, class. My name is Cole Troyer. The production strategy, we approached it in a way that we would be able to ensure that our company would not plummet or skydive with failure. The overtime that we did have was rewarded with pay. The workforce compensation, we had workforce compensation and training. We also had a $1,000 incentive as well as a fringe benefit. Yes, in terms of the plant location and the capacity, there was no real concerns. We weren't concerned with where we were doing our business and how we were conducting it. We just wanted things to get done and ensured that our company and our product would be manufactured properly and efficiently. In terms of our finance strategy, we didn't really have any, issues involving our dividends. We didn't really have any real stock issues or repurchases. Everything that we had and sold went smoothly. We continued to stay on track with our projected numbers that we had for, year 18, year 19, year 20, so on and so forth. Everything that we had and did went according to plan. We just had to make sure that we stayed on top of it and tried to outdo our competition, so to speak. One thing that really did help us was celebrity endorsements. We had, in the beginning, we probably had about 5 or so celebrity endorsements, and then as time went on, we slowly, gradually lowered that down to where we only had about 3 or 4 near the end. That's one good way of how we kept our credit score and our public image as good as it was because of the celebrities that we endorsed. We didn't really go too bankrupt in terms of endorsing those celebrities and ensuring that our product would be available to the masses so that they would have the incentive to buy our product. Our earnings per share were $20.56 higher than what investors were expecting by the end of year 20. So after it was all said and done, we ensured that the investors got their money's worth for investing in our company and our product.
Hi, I'm Jeffrey Jackson, and I am here to cover the lessons we learned about crafting a winning strategy. The first, and potentially most impactful thing that we learned, was that contrary to popular belief, one should attempt to have at least 3 or 4 celebrities to endorse your product. Many have argued that the celebrities are a gamble, and while that is true, we never ran into any issues with celebrities, typically always netting at least 3, though sometimes we did end up with quite a few more. I did find out later that if you get 5 or more, usually at least one region would have over 300 points of influence, and any points over 300 were neglected. This potentially cost us some revenue in the earlier years, since we did not realize 300 points of influence was the max possible and occasionally had up to 6 celebrities. This was mainly due to not reading the fine print, which admittedly is not a great habit to have. One additional plan that we never did get to test was what if we could get all of the celebrities? This would prevent our competitors from having any celebrities, and we would have essentially gained the maximum 300 points while everyone else had 0. We still wonder if that might have been an effective strategy, though we would have to see some numbers to determine that one. The price of celebrity endorsements did rise sharply with time, with one celebrity seeing as much as a 1,200% increase in price from the first year they were available. The third point we're going to cover is the power of advertisement. Advertisement seems to be more impactful in the later years, once your brand is a bit more established and you hold a bit more of the market. In the later years, you can easily amass more capital, which in turn allows for more investment in advertising, which then leads to further profit. It was a bit of a soft goal of mine to try and reach the maximum amounts possible for advertisement in each region, but we did not end up reaching that goal. However, we did make sufficient gains in advertising, which did bring us consistently increasing sales figures. Every year, we consistently increased our sales. Never once did they go down. One of the things that I found most interesting about this was that even in regions that are more into online shopping, such as North America, the majority of our sales across the board came from wholesale marketing. This was big because I personally had thought that this would not be the case, and I petitioned to putting more into internet marketing in North America, thinking that perhaps we would sell more online in that region, being a high-tech region. However, that did not happen, and we ended up spending more in our wholesale marketing. This could be due to the age of the BSG simulations algorithm, which could be calculating the internet sales from what they were a few years prior. In recent years, internet sales have skyrocketed, and nowadays almost everything is purchased online. However, this also could be because shoes are a very physical sort of product. Personally, I have never ordered shoes online. I know some people who have, but how can I be expected to spend $80 on shoes that may not fit properly? Sure, I can always send them back and get a different size, but for me personally, I find it to be less hassle to just go and physically try them on. Now, I see how they look, I see how they fit, as I figure that if I feel that way about shoes, then this could also be translated to BSG and explain why many of our customers were more apt to buy them wholesale than online. One of the first things we did in year 10 was ditch the private label production. Sure, there was a lot of potential money that we may have missed out on, but by having less products, it means we needed less facilities, which lowered production costs substantially. Additionally, it meant we didn't have to worry about the more fierce competition present in the private label sector, and it gave us less to have to manage in the early years. I think you could easily pose the argument that we missed out on a lot of opportunity for potential profit, but we believe it was the safer and more reliable bet to just end private label productions immediately in year 10. Judging by how we did overall, I believe we did make a good choice in this aspect. If the simulation was to continue, I do not believe we would have touched private label, though it would be interesting to go back and see what sort of changes were made and how they would have affected our profits. Another thing that we could have handled differently was the great equipment disaster of year 15. In year 15, all of our production facilities in the North American region depreciated. So, this forced us to purchase new or refurbished machinery all at once instead of slowly amassing our production equipment over time. This cost us greatly, and in several of the graphs and charts that the rest of our group has discussed earlier, you can see that our rapid growth actually went downward in the year 15 instead of the continued trend that you see throughout the rest of our years. Since not only did we spend more on production facilities, but production did not fully recover until the next year. While refurbished machinery is cheaper, it does not last as long. I believe that we ended up going with all new equipment, which did cost us more initially, and it did last us longer. I think had we paid better attention to the depreciation of the equipment, we wouldn't have had this problem, because it seemed like all of a sudden we went from equipment to no equipment. Just bam. So we had to buy all new equipment rather than a replacement cycle. Replacement cycles have many uses. They're a common tactic in many areas of business. It's always a better idea to replace 20% of your inventory yearly than 100% of your inventory once every 5 years. The costs are consistent, and it's a whole lot easier to convince a board or a CEO or anything like that to buy 20% of your inventory every single year, as opposed to a humongous giant payment every 5 years for all of it. A 20% replacement cycle also gives you a consistent replacement cycle. You don't have to worry about all of a sudden, oh my goodness, we now purchased all the equipment at once. We got to swap it all out. Every year, you swap out 20%. Every single year, it's consistent.
And that concludes our company's presentation. We appreciate you taking the time to listen to our information, and good luck to all of you. Thanks.